This podcast should not be copied, distributed, published, or reproduced in whole or in part. The information contained in this podcast does not constitute a recommendation from the New America Alliance, the host, or guests to any listener. The terms NAA or New American Alliance may refer to any one or more entities associated with the NAA. Neither the NAA, host, or guests, nor any of their respective affiliates or employers make any representation or warranty as to the accuracy or completeness of the statements or any information contained in this podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the NAA podcast, Cafecito, Our Stories. I am your host, Gerson Guzman. My day job, as I've shared with you before, is managing partner of Seba Capital Partners, a lower middle market private equity firm. But it does feel like my full-time job these days is carrying on a number of initiatives for the New America Alliance, an organization I've been a part of since 2007, whose mission since 1999 for 26 years has been to advocate for access to capital, underpinned by the mission that American success is contingent on American Latino success. And so through this podcast, we're hoping to share with you the personal and professional journeys of our members and broader members of the ecosystem that supports alternative investment managers. And so today's guest is a longtime supporter of the emerging manager community, Eddie Ramos. I'll say a friend and a mentor to me and many others. So Eddie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Gersman. Certainly appreciate that. It's, this is kind of like Back to the Future, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of feel like this is Raul Isaguirre and Henry Cisneros talking to each other, but they didn't have podcasts back then, right? Not that I'm trying to place myself in their shoes. They're legends.
No, I was picturing them on a radio, you know? Like, tune in.
Yeah, so.
Well, Henry will be in Puerto Rico, so let's be careful, how much we're trying to age anyone whose shoulders we stand on.
That's right.
Well, Eddie, you're a padrino of sorts to a lot of us.
That's the first time anyone's ever called me that.
No, you are.
I don't know whether to thank you or... Anyway, go on, sorry.
No, absolutely fair. But look, we all know you from being an allocator and your accomplishments, your involvement with the Twigo Foundation, LCDA, all these organizations. But we want to hear the story. And I'm excited here because we're going to Puerto Rico. You're the co-chair of the planning committee, but you're Puerto Rican.
Yes.
So take us back. What's the family history? Tell us the story.
Yeah. Well, both my parents were born and raised in Puerto Rico and in very impoverished conditions, quite honestly, and they came over in their teens. My mom actually ran away from her family, believe it or not. My dad moved to New York City, my mom to Jersey City. They met in Jersey City at a factory where they were making toys. Company's called Gabriel Toys, which was eventually bought out by Fisher Price. And they had 3 boys, and I'm the youngest of 3 boys. So we were born and raised in Jersey City, and kind of a foreshadowing of eventually entering a Wall Street career. As the bird flies, Jersey City is only 2 miles from Wall Street.
And a world apart, right? So,
absolutely.
Yeah. So now you have a family of your own. Actually, I'll take this as an opportunity. I saw the LinkedIn post about your son, the author, and I had to look up what a cryptid was. Tell us a little bit about that and what he's up to.
Yeah. So my oldest son, he's now 28 years old, and he's living in D.C., and he's a writer. He's a voracious writer. He's written a ton of projects. He's had some things posted on YouTube, which have had hundreds of thousands of likes. And also, he's written a novel. He's written even some educational content as well for the mental health industry. And then right now, he's writing a series of letters where he's a fictional cryptid hunter. If you don't know what a cryptid is,
please educate the folks who didn't have a chance to look this up before the podcast.
I had no clue what a cryptid was, but basically these are sort of supernatural creatures that people really believe exist, such as Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, and in our culture, chupacabras. So his fictional character, which is Sam White Owl, gets called on by different communities to go out and hunt down these cryptids that are causing mayhem within their communities.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Has it been released yet, or is it available for pre-order?
Available for pre-order.
Okay.
there's some sort of preview content he has
Okay.
on his site right now.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, look, we're going to get into your background. I'm not going to read your bio because we'll be here for the totality of the time we've allocated for this conversation. But we'll put down the bio. We'll also include the link to the pre-order here.
Awesome.
Pretty excited
Awesome. Thank you.
about this. And just Elias Ramos is your son's name,
Yes.
and the author of this wonderful series. So let's talk about your professional journey.
Yeah.
Because, man, you... Again, you're a trailblazer for a lot of us. So take us through that and how you ended up ultimately in alternatives and, being an allocator in an emerging manager program.
Yeah. Well, like I mentioned, I was born in Jersey City. And I think when you grow up in New Jersey and Jersey City specifically, you're literally waking up in the shadows of New York City.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of want to be a part of it. Like the old Frank Sinatra song, if I could make it there, I could make it anywhere. So
I play that once a week to get me going. I can do this. I can do this.
Yeah, I can do it my way.
Yeah,
right? It's
exactly.
another Frank
Yeah,
Sinatra song. But nonetheless, it's one of these things where I just had in 7th grade a field trip to the stock exchange, New York Stock Exchange. And then I just developed like this voracious appetite for anything finance. So yeah, I mean, literally as I walked home from school every day to home, from school to home, I would pass the Jersey City Public Library, the biggest one that they have in downtown Jersey City. And I would stop in there, read the Wall Street Journal.
Good for you, man.
Kids thought I was crazy. But nonetheless, that was what I wanted to do. And so I just had this, again, voracious appetite for wanting to read the journal every day. And that continued. I eventually wound up having a mentor who made it pretty clear to me that if I wanted a Wall Street career, I would have to consider an MBA and or a CFA is what he told me. So I looked into both, and fortunately I was able to get into a very good business school at Columbia, specifically with the Robert Twigo Foundation, which at the time was called the Financial Services Fellowship.
Okay.
And it was still a rather experimental program with only 7 students going to Columbia.
Mm-hmm.
And in essence, Twigo wanted to change the face of finance. And I said, yeah,
and
I'm all for that.
They've been making an impact.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. No, look, this is an organization now. We have over 2,500 alumni.
Yep.
Incidentally, my wife too is a Twigo fellow.
Okay.
It's now been on over 35 different campuses
Yep.
nationwide. And really, I kind of call it the fellowship that keeps on giving because the monies that I got to go to school are literally the least of the benefits that I've gotten out of this particular relationship with this foundation. It's just so much more between mentoring, networking, educational opportunities, opening doors.
That's the power of the network.
It's amazing. I love it. I'm totally indebted to the Twigo Foundation.
And I'm not a Twigo fellow myself. I was out of the country, and this was pre. Look, I was around for the internet, but everything was not as easily accessible. And I showed up at business school the first semester, and people were like, "Oh, you're a Twigo fellow." I'm like, "What is that?"
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah. So no, but I mean, all my peers and that network is so strong. So how did you end up getting in? So you started your career in finance. Take us through that progression there, and ultimately how you ended up on the allocator side.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is, I saw not only the stock exchange, but I actually saw Peter Lynch on the cover of Time magazine. Time magazine was usually associated with political leaders or celebrities. And this guy's on Time magazine's cover, and it was kind of like, hey, this is kind of sexy.
Yeah.
That's actually where I thought to myself. So that's when I decided, I want to be a mutual fund manager, literally.
Okay.
So once I made that known to people who kind of knew the industry, and the person who really was most instrumental in leading me toward that direction was what would be my eventually my future father-in-law. He owned his own money management firm. His name's Eddie Brown. He started his money management firm in 1983, which is precisely the same year that John Rogers started his firm at Ariel. And the two of them were out there doing it, right? And at the same time, what was going on in this country was also very instrumental to their success as well, which is in the 1980s, there were a lot of democratically elected mayors throughout the United States who now were given the keys to billions of dollars in pension plans, right, to start deploying this capital. And they looked around and asked a quite obvious question, which is like, are any of these managers
where are
look
the
like
people
us?
that look like us?
Right. So, I mean, literally, Ronald Kirk, Coleman Young, Harold Washington, Tom Bradley, David Dinkins. This was taking place throughout the country. Maynard Jackson down in Atlanta. And each of these people really started taking the reins of their specific pension plans and started deploying the capital. And that's how Eddie Brown was able to build his firm. And he eventually was on Wall Street Week, which was literally the only business show on TV on a weekly basis. It was on PBS. So, he would take me to the viewings, the tapings of those particular events. And that just kind of lured me even further into it. But ironically enough, although I had the opportunity to join him immediately after business school, I thought to myself, I kind of want to establish my own success in this industry without him first. Right. And then eventually
I get that.
I might have the option later on to join him, right? I also wanted to do international. As I just had, just like I had this appetite for financial news, I had an appetite for culture, history, geography, languages. And I thought to myself, gee, if I can do investing in the U.S., this is kind of cool. Yeah. You could do this in like 20 different markets,
Absolutely.
So, fast forward to where I am today, I've visited 50 different countries and have invested in almost all of them. And as I got into the industry, I also learned that international investing, much more inefficient markets, right? So your ability to potentially add alpha was much more prevalent. The fees were higher overseas, and the business at the time was growing faster too. So it was like, I'm dedicating myself to this, So fortunately, I got in a position where I started working with Templeton, covering the emerging markets for them, traveling all over the world. I was initially offered the opportunity to cover Mexico, and another mentor of mine basically said to me, "You will always be able to do Latin America, given who you are, your background." He's like, "You should do something completely different."
Yeah.
So I wanted to.
Otherwise, you then become the Latin American guy, right?
Become pigeonholed. Yeah. So I was covering Korea to start my career. And I was literally spending sometimes 3 out of 4 weeks a month for several months in a row over in Korea, learning as much as possible about that market. So fast forward, it's one of these things where I had the opportunity at a very early age, at 27 years old, to start managing a mutual fund.
Okay.
So that kind of embarked me on this idea that would eventually lead into sort of the last third of my career, which is eventually being a director sitting on mutual fund boards. But when you're managing a mutual fund, you're reporting to a board every quarter. You're walking in there talking about the performance, so on, the fees, and the specific strategy, what kind of exposures it has, and that kind of thing. But as I was building the business for Templeton, I eventually left there. Eventually wound up joining Eddie Brown, and I basically joined his firm, Brown Capital Management, under the autonomy to allow me to start and build the international business.
Okay.
He had never done international investing. In fact, no minority-owned firm at that point had ever done full-blown international equity investing.
Okay.
Yeah. So he was the first, and it was me who started it. So we're invested in 25 different countries off the bat. And all that to say that, it really occurred to me as I was there trying to build a business, not just managing money, that Eddie was given opportunities to manage money at so many of these pension plans because there were people that looked like him on the other side of the table. So I've always thought to myself, even to this day, like the best way for us to move the needle in this emerging manager world, whatever you want to call it, ethically diverse managers, women, or whatever the case may be, the best way for us to be able to manage more of these assets is if we have more people that look like us on the other side of the table. I mean, if you look where the biggest deployments of capital have taken place, it has been because there has been some chief investment officer or executive director or CEO of an organization that says, this makes
driving
sense.
The
we're
program.
going to do this. And sometimes those white guys are married to like Puerto Rican women, right? They got it at home. They got the message at home from their wives. It's like, honey, what are you doing for our people, you know? So That's true. I know three people like that. So it's a type of situation where just familiarity and getting people on those other sides of the table, obviously opens the door for you to be able to compete really on a more level playing field.
Just to be blunt, right? You've got two Latinos here having a little cafecito, both versed in technology. Really goes contra to how people think about what's happening in the AI world. It's happening in Silicon Valley, India, China. We're going to Puerto Rico. You're going to be on that panel. What do you hope folks take out of that panel and understanding what our community of investors is doing in AI? Because at the end of the day, we're doing it to generate a return for our investors and to create value within the companies that we manage. So what's your vision for this panel?
Yeah, I would say, first of all, to start with the sort of the panorama of what we're looking at today, there are quite a number of young people who are totally dedicated themselves to AI, to the extent that anything they want to do in the future, they know is going to be AI first. So, okay, I want to enter money management, but I'm going to use AI as much as possible to start my own asset management firm, right? Whatever. I mean, there are literally firms that are starting off with the AI mentality first. I want to create investment banks or retail wealth management,
right.
I have heard of like third-party marketers who are totally going to be using AI to do their work. And a lot of them happen to be Latinos, which is great. I think people have realized, like, hey, it's been very difficult to break in these traditional channels if I don't have the right connections or if I don't have the right pedigree educationally or work experience-wise. But this is a way for me to eventually develop a business that's going to be differentiated in the marketplace, that might have a competitive advantage here that will endure.
Technology as a great disruptor.
Yeah, without a doubt. So we've seen it, and we know people like this, and we're partnering with many people like that too. Yep. One of our best sort of white glove treatment AI guys is from Brazil, and just there's a different approach that these younger people are taking. I think part of what AI is going to create is really a generational divide in terms of how traditional work is going to be done. Yep. It's going to be really, really disruptive. Right now, the average person graduating from undergraduate college is going to have about 7 careers by the time they retire. Careers, not jobs. The undergraduate degrees are becoming obsolete faster. So as a result, there's going to be in the workforce some friction that's going to take place too. Certainly people our age are going to be looking over their shoulders.
Well, our generation was told, go into investing or accounting or computer science. Yeah. Right? And those two industries are being disrupted, being turned upside down through technology.
Yeah. I know it's a Latino executive. I won't mention what company he's working with, but basically he was tasked to basically go to overlooked parts of the country and help them to do coding. So one of the places he went to was Appalachia. And in those places in West Virginia, they created a program that was going from coal mining to code mining. Yeah. Okay. Which is pretty cool. Yeah. But nonetheless, at this point, it's kind of like that's become obsolete. Right. I mean, coding is to some extent going
Technology is moving faster than philanthropy.
Yes. So again, these skill sets, what's required today is going to be different than what you need 3 years from now, 6 years from now, 9 years from now.
Thank you for joining us, Eddie. This was awesome. And to our listeners, thank you very much for joining us on this episode of Cafecito, Our Stories. And look forward to seeing you at the next episode. And until then, hasta la próxima.
This podcast should not be copied, distributed, published, or reproduced in whole or in part. The information contained in this podcast does not constitute a recommendation from the New America Alliance, the host, or guests to any listener. The terms NAA or New American Alliance may refer to any one or more entities associated with the NAA. Neither the NAA, host, or guests, nor any of their respective affiliates or employers make any representation or warranty as to the accuracy or completeness of the statements or any information contained in this podcast.